Coming up on All About Android, it is Pixel-palooza. We're going to talk about everything we know about the Pixel 4 ahead of Google's event next week. We're also going to talk about the new GMS requirements straight out of Google camp, the new Google Assistant, the specs coming out in the Pixel 4, the Microsoft Surface Duo. There's so much to talk about this week. Let's get started.
Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This episode of All About Android is brought to you by LegalZoom. Make sure your important legal documents are complete with LegalZoom. Visit LegalZoom.com and enter AAA at checkout for special savings. And by ZipRecruiter. Hiring isn't easy, but there's one place you can go where hiring is simple and smart. That place is ZipRecruiter, where growing businesses connect to qualified candidates. Try it for free at ZipRecruiter.com/Android.
Hello and welcome to All About Android, episode 441, recorded live on October 8th, 2019. We are your weekly source for the latest news, hardware, and apps for the Android faithful. I'm Florence Ion.
And I'm Ron Richards, and you volunteered to do the intro this week, Flo.
I know. Well, I'm a little under the weather, and that clearly came at a head there. Speaking of heads, there's three of us talking this week. I stayed out of the studio so that I would not contaminate anybody.
So we've got a unique week this week as we're not in studio at all. Jason is off on vacation with the family. He's having a lovely time if you follow on him on Instagram. But we're delighted to welcome back Mr. Joshua Vergara. How you doing, Joshua?
Yay!
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Super happy to be back, especially since I remember when the invite was coming out. Jason told me we can have you on this one or on the day of the Pixel event, which I'm actually not attending. I won't give any details about why yet. But as it turns out, I'm looking at what we're going to talk about today. We're basically talking about everything anyway.
Yeah.
Well, this is the exciting week before the Pixel event show, the Pixel event eve, as it were, on All About Android.
Yes.
So there's going to be a lot of Pixel talk for sure. The event is next Tuesday. It is in New York City. I will not be there because I will be in Los Angeles. But Flo, pending health holding up, you will be there.
Oh, no,
correct?
I'm still going. Listen,
okay.
United doesn't refund plane tickets, so I will be there.
All right. Well, there you go. So
my doctor gave me masks to wear on the plane. I asked her, and she said, take a stack of masks. So I will be the person on the plane with a mask.
Cool. Better, and that's for everyone else's safety, to be honest.
Precisely. Yes.
Right. Cool. Well, we're going to be talking about a lot of Pixel stuff at the top of the show. But first, Joshua, it's been a while since you've been on the show. I don't remember last time we had you on. It might have been a year at this point. So what phone are you using these days? What's your what's your daily driver?
What's your daily driver?
I actually have two daily drivers. I've become the two phone person, mainly because it's two different. I know it's two different ecosystems. So I will admit that it's kind of ironic that today I'm on the show because I did do my review on the iPhone 11 Pro, which is one of them. But the other phone is way more exciting. It is honestly way more exciting because it is this. This is the Red. I know there's an official name for it, but I'll just go with Red. The Red Galaxy Note 10, the smaller one, which, everyone talks about the Note 10 Plus, but this is the smaller one, easier to handle. And also, you'll notice some people, it's red, which means this is the one that's only available in certain markets. I actually had to buy this one off a seller in Hong Kong.
Wow. So what markets is it available? Mainly Asia? Or?
Yeah.
Mainly Asia. This one in particular is a Korean unit, which is the Note 10 5G. And I was warned that the 5G on this is not going to work on any of the 5G we end up getting in the US. So I'm not going to be able to enjoy that.
It's okay. 5G doesn't work here anyway.
Exactly.
Before we move
talk
on,
about it all the time.
Can you hold it closer up to the camera there so everyone can see the red detail of the phone? There it is.
Yeah, I guess you're green.
So it's got the little Samsung kind of etched on the back there, right?
Ooh, yeah. There we go. There we go.
Yeah.
Ooh,
That's snazzy. It's a snazzy phone.
Love this thing. Of course, the Red Pen, of course. There you go.
Oh, wow. So for our audio listeners, Joshua's holding a red Note with a red S Pen, which is not available in the US.
You know what? big phones are just as they're overrated. They're as overrated as they are big. Honestly, this is when I remember when I was first looking at these two phones, the Note 10 Plus and the Note 10. I was like, I need that smaller one for sure.
Yeah. I would definitely choose a red phone over a big phone. That's just a no-brainer. So
that's fair.
Anyway, so let's get into the Pixel 4 news, and I'm sure Victor has, with Jason not being here, Victor's probably got his A game. He stepped up to the plate. He's going to give us the best Android news bumper there ever was.
I hope so. In California, we've been told we could lose power at any time, so we got to do the show fast. Oh man.
Oh. Uh-oh.
Well, at least we got backup power, so
no.
You know.
Oh, this is so good. I am. Victor, you are making me so happy right now.
Victor did a bit. Oh, this is amazing. Not only a bit, but a bit with lighting effects.
In the studio where none of us are.
It's
So topical
amazing.
as well.
Yeah, it's called the brick alarm.
Nice.
Uh-oh.
Well done, Victor. Well done.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, Flo, we got a lot to get through here at the news, so we need to move on from the comedy and get into the news.
We do. Unfortunately, we have to move on from the comedy and talk about what XDA has been reporting because holy knuckles. I just made that up. They've just been coming out with all this news. So Google has the Google Media Service, GMS, and it's had these requirements for OEMs and ODMs for quite a while now. However, in this next year, any brand submitting a handset for approval after January 31st, 2020 will have to run Android 10. So you cannot run an older version of Android. It is done. You are not allowed to do that. So those who don't know, the GMS includes a suite of Google apps, services, and libraries that companies are required to license before they're installed on Android devices. So any new devices that run Android 9 Pie and older will not be approved after January 31st, 2020. So red alert for those manufacturers out there who want to put an older version of Android on their handsets. No.
Wow. Red alert. There it is. Played right into Victor's hands. So there's a lot of the stuff that came out of this Google Mobile Services stuff. So we're going to go through it all, and then Joshua, I want to hear your take on it, your thoughts on this being Google Pixel 4 Eve and Android 10. Kind of all these changes that are coming. But real quickly, another one is that Google is going to require phones ship with the new Android branding starting in 2020. So, recently we had the team from Android on the show a couple of weeks ago. That was awesome to talk to those guys, and they told us about the new branding and the new approach on the marketing side of things. And so this requirement coincides with the new branding scheme and design paradigm that they just rolled out. So not till 2020 will we see the new Android branding required on OEMs.
Oh,
look at that. This is the branding right here. This is all it is. I had a little plushie with this on it. I literally ripped its head off when the announcement came out. Because this is literally what it is. It's just a head with a few changes.
Oh, I see the button on the bottom.
Yeah.
Ooh. Well, we did say it was a decapitated head. So this one will get some of you jumping for joy, I think. It used to be considered a strong recommendation from Google, but now it's a requirement. So Android devices with Type-C ports will not be allowed to break the USB power delivery capabilities, which is effectively the charging tech that safely pushes 50, 60, and even 100 watts of power to your device. So that means devices with proprietary charging solutions aren't allowed to break compatibility with standard Type-C chargers. So this is just kind of keep things even keel across the board, so you're not confused when you're going out and buying power adapters for your phones. So far, only Google and Samsung actually support what is referred to as the USB PD. And the main disparity kind of happens among the Chinese OEMs. So the idea here is to help bridge that gap between manufacturers and charging compatibility. I'm curious how this is going to affect brands like OnePlus, for instance.
Well, I'm more curious how this is going to affect that dude that works at Google who keeps track of that list of all the cables that work.
Oh, Benson. Benson.
Man.
Yes.
Does he still do that? Is that still up to date? Is that still a thing?
I'm Googling right now.
I'd like to hope that at this point we can pretty much just trust our cables, especially if it comes from like a proper manufacturer.
Yeah,
So,
right.
One would assume, yeah, one would think.
I'm sorry, it's Benson Lang. It's Leung is his name. And it looks like the last question was 2017 of somebody asking if he's updated it. So.
All right, so maybe not. Maybe he stopped. Well, there you go.
People get busy.
Yep. Well, USB PD sounds like a great idea. What also sounds like a great idea, which seems as if every mobile phone operating system is rolling out, but now Google is requiring all of its Android partners to preload a digital well-being solution with built-in parental controls. And this sounds very kind of heavy-handed, but actually most OEMs will satisfy this requirement by preloading Google's digital well-being and family link applications. But brands like Xiaomi and Huawei, they can continue using their custom solutions so long as they meet certain requirements. So Google now requiring digital well-being and parental controls to make sure that everybody stays sane and kids are protected. I guess this is a good thing. I don't care for digital well-being that much, but I get it. But whatever. I
don't mind. I'm not very good at putting myself to bed. So having my phone go gray and say, yo, you're up past your bedtime. I mean, I appreciate it.
I'm an adult and I can put myself to bed.
I feel like a ton of people out there are going to have the same opinion as you, Ron. Like, we love that this is the case, even if we don't really follow it ourselves.
Yeah.
I know that's how I feel, because as much as I would love, even just today, I've been on a bit of a health kick over the last week. Even just today, I've been noticing I'm looking at my phone more than I should be. And, that's obviously a habit that's really hard to kick.
Yeah. I want to make an app that just counts every time you look at it, your phone.
That would be,
I'm sure that exists.
I'm not sure I really want digital well-being as much as I want like digital shaming. Like there should be some level of punishment or some level of discipline that occurs with the well-being that really, because it's one thing to like gently tell you to stop using your phone, and it's another thing to like automatically post to your social media that you're addicted to your phone or some way to embarrass you.
It's just going to be an Instagram account of a bunch of pictures of people on their phones. It's going to look like the most mundane shaming account ever.
Ooh, you don't want to end up on there. All right, so kind of going to our next little news item. This is really exciting for mobile gamers, and I know Josh is going to be excited about this one because of the app he brought. Oh, I'm teasing it. Okay, so mobile gamers, your time is coming. So Google is working on a game device certification program for Android gaming smartphones. This is directly a page out of the PC playbook, by the way. So the program offers a list of technical requirements that smartphone manufacturers must meet in order to be considered a gaming device, quote unquote. This means meeting expectations so that the device doesn't face unexpected throttling, it doesn't lose CPU cores, or make sure it doesn't introduce any other odd system behaviors. Google says these devices must provide a modern, up-to-date, high-performance GPU, and display APIs, and enable reasonable frame introspection. Ooh, that's a lot of R's. Gaming devices must support the latest version of the Vulkan Graphics API, pass the latest OpenGL ES/Vulkan Graphics conformance tests provided by Kronos, and meet requirements related to choreographer and Surface Flinger. So Google also wants to ensure that gaming devices allow apps to allocate at least 2.3 gigs of memory before the system kills them off. This is going to be good for folks who are really into some of the latest big name games that have come out, or folks who are interested in the ROG phone that we keep talking about. The ROG.
ROG. Flo, it's ROG.
Yes, ROG.
I think that the key things you said there, Flo, was what you said is that this is taking a page out of the PC world.
Yeah.
That PC certification was something that happened years ago and really tried to set the standard, that hardware needed to meet for the gaming levels. So is this a sign of maturity for Android as a gaming platform?
Ooh, that's a good one. See, the thing is, though, we have Apple that's doing it with mobile games that are accessible and just kind of like easy to get into and play. And we have Google gunning for the big kahunas, like the big AAA titles, and trying to be like mini powerhouses. So this is going to be an interesting.
That is true. I agree with that. But I'm not sure if you talked about this on a previous episode. It only happened like within the last 2 weeks. The Google Play Pass. Did you see how that came out recently?
Yeah. Oh,
basically, yeah. It's Google's version of Apple Arcade without truly being Apple Arcade. Because while it's true that there are a lot of phones that are starting to come out in the Android ecosystem that are geared towards gamers, mainly because of high performance, let's say peripherals, like controllers and whatnot. That's a big thing. On the Apple side, one thing that Apple has actually managed to do is gain exclusivity rights to certain games that might prove to be in high demand. And I really feel like Google and Android and Google Play have to do that. Like, it's great that they have this guideline for gaming devices, but the games have to match the technology, and they have to match all the things that Google's hoping that people buy Android devices for that purpose. So I mean, that's the one thing. I'm paying for both right now. I don't know if that's very healthy for me, but yeah, $5 a month, twice a month, just so I can try playing some games.
You didn't get the
$1.99
introductory price, because that's what I'm paying for right now.
I did do
that. It's not too bad. But I agree with you, Josh.
And luckily, you'll have a digital well-being app to help you be healthy.
Yes.
It's just one black line, and it all just says gaming.
Yeah, that's all it is.
Yeah.
All right, and so last on this, you can say goodbye to proprietary gestures, as Google will hide OEM gesture navigation systems on Android and won't allow you to even set them out. Any Android device using the Google mobile services that launches on Android 10 will need to ship out of the box with either the classic 3-button or the new Android 10 gestures. If a device ships with the gestures, by default, the 3-button setup must be supported as an optional setting. Thank God. This effectively kills off the 2-button pill navigation from Android Pie, as Android 10 devices can include it as a user selectable option. Google mentions that devices being upgraded to Android 10 are strongly encouraged to keep that option in place. We've seen this on Pixel and Essential devices, but OnePlus removed the pill. It will be interesting to see how OnePlus modified Android 10 gestures to fit into this. Joshua, where do well, first off, and this is the last story with all this sort of stuff. Joshua, have you played with Android 10? Mm-hmm. How do you feel about it? How do you feel about the new gesture control? How do you feel about gestures in general?
I've mainly messed with Android 10 on the OnePlus 7T, which I recently reviewed as well. And I mean, this is the gesture system that basically works for most phones, right? A lot of Chinese manufacturers have been doing basically this. And I get it. It's not that bad. There are times when swiping from the left to go back actually brings out the sandwich menu, and that's not ideal, obviously. But I kind of get it. I kind of had an aha moment when it came to these gestures. Have you ever tried with the full navigation bar or even the pill bar? Have you ever tried while lying in bed on your side to reach those buttons comfortably, to go backwards Yeah, that was my aha moment. I was lying in bed with the Pixel 3a in particular, and even on a small phone, it could be annoying to try to reach those buttons. And then just swiping from anywhere on the side to go back. I get it now. Okay, fine. I'm in.
You're making me think differently about it, because I do have that usability issue, but I have those gestures turned off because I was like, heck no, I'm not changing my ways. I already know what I like, and I'm sticking to it.
The only thing that I really dislike about these gestures, though, is coming up from the bottom corners to get Google Assistant. That's still weird. I'm not used to it yet. And that's the one that I don't really like. And also, since this is now becoming required in Android versions, one interesting thing is on the Galaxy Note 10 that I've been using, Samsung actually develops their own app that works both in the front and back end to give you those swipe gestures on the side. It's called One Hand Operation Plus. That's like the app that you download from the Play Store. So there are workarounds to this. I imagine that if OnePlus has their own navigation system they want to put in, it could be an app that just overlays and draws over apps so that you can still get what they want you to use as far as gestures are concerned. But that's if there's anything extra. That's the only thing. So
gestures are a polarizing topic. I
used to hate them. I used to hate them so much until that aha moment. Like, I have to say,
I still haven't had that aha moment. I'm still, call me old fashioned or whatever it is. But also, and it's not so much that I don't think gestures as a concept are great. Although, the 2-finger swipe, 3-finger swipe, all that stuff kind of gets, hard to keep track of, and knowing how to use the gestures and things like that. My biggest issue with it are for the education for folks who aren't like us, who aren't looking for it, who aren't trying to figure it out. How do you onboard somebody who's not familiar with the concept of basically a new paradigm on how to use the device that they've been using for almost 10 years now, and then additionally, for accessibility and like people with carpal tunnel or people with issues with their hands and fingers that aren't able to use the gestures as fluidly as we can, having that backup option to go back to the 3 buttons or to not use them, like that sort of thing. So those are my big, kind of my 2 big concerns about gestures.
Yeah, I could see that, and it would kind of suck if you're doing your setup on a new, let's say, Pixel 4 device, and it goes through all the steps to teach you all the different gestures and the ways that you can use it. And then the next page is, but would you like to use a different system? I can kind of see where Google's like, that's kind of mean to do that, to like literally educate you and then give you an option to do something completely different. So I kind of get that.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting to see how this all rolls out. But and we're going to find out how it all rolls out, because in a week, like we mentioned, the Pixel 4 gets announced, even though it's been the leakiest ship in the Android world, I think, in months. And the latest, quote unquote, leak was that the folks over at 9 to 5 Google got an exclusive video of the new Google Assistant running on Pixel 4. And we knew changes were coming to the Assistant based off of I/O, the Google I/O keynote that talked a lot about Assistant. We know how important Assistant is to Google's plans. But so 9 to 5 Google had this video of Assistant running that shows that now when you say, hey, G, or you squeeze a phone with an active edge, now what happens is that they've minimized the space that the Assistant takes up. So instead of going full screen, it kind of slides up from the bottom. You see some color, the Google colors kind of move and bleed on the screen as you talk to it. And then when it has results, it kind of slides up more and gives you more kind of screen real estate that's used from there. Honestly, this is really kind of elegant from the 3 videos that they showed. Victor, you showed the first one. There are 2 more on that page that show how it almost seems like Assistant is becoming more ingrained in the phone. And on this video, for those watching on the video feed, you can see in the bottom of the video, you see the subtle blue, red, yellow, and green there along the bottom. This idea of like, it's almost like it's almost like LED lights or kind of this very subtle glow, as opposed to actually having an active element on the screen like the panel that slides up. It's really kind of interesting. Josh, what do you think of this new Assistant? Do you think that this is going to make it even easier to use Assistant on a phone?
I've always been a fan of Google Assistant, aside from the gesture that we just talked about. But yeah, I think that this is a good step forward for Assistant, especially, like you said, it's becoming more ingrained in the phone because it's more contextually aware. If you're I imagine that second video that was shown was in Android Messages. So it probably has to be integrated with the particular app that it's trying to do your voice to text to. But this is a great idea. If you're watching the video feed, it's showing again right now. But yeah, being able to just dictate what you want to reply to, I think that's great. Google Assistant should be doing more stuff like that. And obviously it's up to developers to actually support all of that. I know that probably Flo and I were talking earlier before the show about how we're both addicted to this app called Notion. And it would be great to be in the Notion app and then like squeeze the phone or do something and then just say, hey, like open up this and add a reminder for this, or add an entry to this page or something like that. And it'd be great to see that continuously become a thing.
Yeah.
So those assistant actions, for instance, that we see on like smart speakers and smart displays, to have them on our actual phones in the apps we use all the time.
Mm-hmm. Why can't there be like a tasker level customization layer to something like this? The way that you have Google Home, and then you put in all of the different products that you have in your home. Like I have a couple of Lenovo plugs. I have a TP-Link over there. I obviously have like other stuff going on in this office. Why not create those layers or those parameters inside of Google Assistant so that you can tell it something and it automatically does it? I know that there's like is it Google Routines or something like that? I'm trying to remember what the term actually was. Yeah,
and there's IFTTT, but it's so limited to just like whatever the companies allow, which makes sense because I'm sure it's a safety security thing, but
sure.
Yeah, that would be nice. It would add to the customization of Android that we kind of already have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree.
All right, so moving on, because we just have so much Pixel 4. I mean, this phone doesn't even exist yet, and we already know everything about it, I swear. Here's the other thing we know about it. We know the specs. If you want to read the specs, you can go to 9to5 Google. They got a whole spec sheet over there. So the specs have been revealed for the Pixel 4, and the big news is the 4 and 4 XL will have what is called the Pixel Neural Core as part of their processors. So it's possible that this is what is replacing the visual core in an effort to emphasize that the chip uses neural network techniques to process images. Again, I think this is more of a marketing branding sort of thing, because remember, Google is all about the neural network and kind of pushing that forward. So that makes sense. We also, we did not receive word. 9to5 Google did receive word that the Pixel 4 will not come with earbuds. Sad news, sad story.
Wow.
It's a bummer, but a lot of folks have brought up the fact that this cuts down on e-waste, because a lot of people probably have their favorite pair of earbuds or wireless earphones that they have around the house already ready to go with the new phone. And so not including this just saves up on space, I suppose. I'm sure it saves up a little bit on the price, although this is probably still going to cost a lot. A couple of other little major tidbits. They'll be major someday. The camera will have dual exposure camera controls, and 9to5 Google has a primer all about how those will possibly work. Again, none of this has been on stage at Google, so I like to say possibly, because until it comes out of Google's mouths, the mouths of Google babes, it's not confirmed in stone. The Pixel 4 will also have Face Unlock, which takes advantage of that Soli radar chip that everyone has just been rumbling about. It's the Soli is the big player in this game. I'm sure it's going to get quite a bit of focus in the presentation next week even. There's also going to be a cute, and I know Victor's going to love this, a cute Pokemon branded Soli demo to help teach us how to wave hello and just other gestures to do with your Pixel device. So I hope you like Pokemon and cuteness, because that's going to happen. And I am here for it. And I cannot wait to wave at some virtual Pokemon.
Who doesn't love virtual Pokemon, right?
I mean, it's safer than catching real animals and putting them into balls. Please don't do that. That is animal cruelty. So Josh, are you excited for virtual Pokemon?
we're all still processing that image in our head.
Yeah, I know.
Sorry.
No, but get inside this ball.
But no, really. So we're a week out from the Pixel 4. There have been a lot of leaks, even more stuff like this between the neural core and the camera stuff and all that sort of stuff. So are you excited for the Pixel 4? Do you think this is a phone will you put that red phone down and pick up the Pixel 4 as your daily driver, or what do you think?
I am always excited for a Pixel, and I'm really looking forward to all of these enhancements that are coming in. I mean, I almost said Pikachu. The Pokemon app is obviously going to be super fun to be able to wave at things and learn about Solus. This is what I'm talking about. Something like this is a good way of teaching people how to use those gestures, for example, but without backtracking too far. But yes, this will be great. I'm looking forward to this. I would say though that if I can just be a little bit of a negative person for a second, there's one thing that I saw in that spec sheet, if it's to be believed, because the actual spec sheet screenshot that they had at 9to5 Google doesn't actually. Oh no, there it is. My apologies. It's actually there. 12 megapixel dual pixel and 16 megapixel telephoto. Where's the wide lens? This is upsetting. I use wide lenses way more, especially for video content. And while I now know the benefits of a telephoto, it's nice to have and whatnot, even other companies are starting to prioritize the wide angle over the telephoto. And why is Google not doing that yet?
It'll probably be like on the Pixel 3, where you zoom all the way out and it's like wide angle, and then you zoom in one more and it's like the regular angle.
I do hope so.
Terminology.
I do hope so. And also, it says nothing about the front cameras either. So we still don't know what the front's going to look like.
Yeah, I know. I'm like looking at my Pixel 3 and like, okay. Because, I mean, we'll see. That would not be good it would not be good for them to do that, considering the new iPhone just came out with 3 giant lenses on it. So,
and then also on the iPhone 11, which has 2 lenses, that second lens is the ultra wide angle. So, like I said, like people are starting to prioritize it more, and I'm really flabbergasted as to why Google would not be going in that route when wide angle is clearly something that you can use way more often than a telephoto. I think it's kind of proven at this point. Most people don't use the telephoto as much. But as far as the camera is concerned, this dual exposure, I love this. This is a great idea. And rather than having to take a photo, go into Google Photos, granted, Google Photos and all of the algorithmic processing going on in the background does a great job of making a dope photo. I agree with that. However, being able to actually change it on the fly without having to worry about all that editing afterwards, I think that's a great idea. So if this truly works the way that it should, it's going to show not only the power of Google's cameras once again, but at the same time, we're going to have a lot of fun with this. Like those photos underneath the video in that article are showing off like silhouette photos, and you can actually create dramatic shots all through the camera app. I think we're all going to just mess with this all the time, I feel like. You're going to see Instagram feeds are going to get way more interesting because of this, or more dramatic, I should say. But yeah, those are the main things that I'm really thinking about as far as the phone is concerned. Raise to talk as far as Google Assistant is concerned. I'm all right with that. Also with the face unlock and whatnot, because with most phones now, I try to find that raise to wake feature because it's just a little bit more convenient, especially if face unlock is a thing. So yeah, it's just coming to Google properly now. So that's fine by me. I do love how all of these videos, these literally look like those short. I think they are. They are those short spots that they're going to show on stage, right? Because it literally has that production quality.
Probably. Yeah. And very beautiful people, might I add. The professional.
Well, that's a great segue, because to move on from the Pixel 4 and talk about beautiful people, and just so before we get to this, Pixel 4 next week, Pixel 4 event. We're all very excited. Tune in next week. It's gonna be a big show. Big moment. But moving away from Google for a moment, the folks over at Oppo had a little bit of a marketing flub recently as they uploaded a couple of commercials promoting their new Android competitor operating system called ColorOS, which is their take on Android, as it were. And they uploaded them and then deleted them because they're wacky and weird. And so we're going to play one now. Victor, can we play that?
Oh, God, I can't. I can't look.
I always loved him, you know? I feel really safe with him. I mean, it's just like I can tell him anything.
What?
Yeah. He protected me from being harassed a lot of times.
Who are you talking about?
Oh, ColorOS, I mean.
So I don't know what they're thinking of these ads. But,
wow, that was extremely tone deaf.
It's just very weird.
Did she have food in her teeth?
Well, they're at dinner, so possibly. I find the whole genderizing their operating system to be really weird. There was a second ad that's in the workplace with the same actors, I
don't know if we should be showing the other ones.
I know, to be honest with you. But it also opens the question: Are these the same people? Is this the same universe? What's going on? Why were they at dinner? Do they work together? There's a whole lot of stuff. But it seems it seems to me like Eastern European soap opera quality level TV for some reason, with the broken English, and it's just very bizarre. But they deleted them very quickly after posting them, and just leaves you scratching your head. What is Oppo doing? And did someone transfer from OnePlus over to the mothership at Oppo from the marketing department? Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, these are just.
This one's rough. This one is rough to watch.
Secretary. Yes, a female secretary, of course.
But she's at the desk.
Okay, so assuming positive intent, like obviously tone deaf execution, but assuming positive intent, obviously they're just looking to promote ColorOS. It's come a long way. ColorOS used to be one of the worst Android iterations with the worst translations, bad localization. Now it's actually quite a nice looking and usable interface. Okay, so after having worked with a lot of these Chinese companies going to their launches and whatnot, it's clear to me how this ad kind of came to be. There aren't a whole lot of, let's say, English and by English I mean British or American struggling actors living in China. But there are quite a few like expat Europeans. So they're the ones who are acting, but they still have to have the perfect English dub over it. And just there's these two sides that don't know how to sync up. And that's when these ads come about. Just speaking as far as like the production quality is concerned. But oh my God, this was really odd when I saw it at first. I didn't even catch the tweet when it first came out, but this is just I can't help but laugh and cringe at the same time.
Yes, precisely. Laugh and cringe.
The upload and then delete is just embarrassing. Anyway, so that's a nice palate cleanser. We got an email from you, the community. Flo, why don't you read the email?
Yes, so we've got an email this week. Just a reminder, if you want to email us, you can at AAA@twit.tv. You can also leave us a voicemail. Remember, you guys used to leave us those, and we like those. You call us at 347-SHOW-AAA. Just type that into your phone, and it should help you find your way. So this week's question comes from Robert Matthews. Robert writes, I have just finished listening to episode 440, last week's, after Ron ranting about how terrible YouTube Music is and how Google Music is not as good as it once was. I'm not a Google Music user, so my question is this. Can you do a mass download from Google Music to a PC? If the answer is yes, why not do that and add your music to Plex? Keep up the great work. Ron, I kind of want to let you answer this. Go.
Well, yeah. Well, so I don't know for sure. I haven't looked in because I after the show last week, I had the same thought, which is like, I wonder. So to back up for a second, I had my music library on iTunes and I installed the Google Play Helper app that uploaded all the music up to Google Play, right? And then somewhere along the lines, I stopped getting MP3s and just depending on what was streaming from Google Play. When I would get a record, a lot of vinyl comes with a little download code where you can download the MP3s of the songs. So I would get those and I would put them in iTunes and then that would upload them to Google Play. So I have those. But for a lot of stuff, I just became dependent on the streaming library of it. So my thought is that I don't need to download from Google Play because I can just put what I had in iTunes into Plex. Plex does require a media server to be on at all times, but I'm using Plex for my TV and movies, and so that server is running on my desktop at all times. Inherently, I could access it from remotely from outside, outside my apartment because it's plugged into my, gigabit router, whatever. I can still do that. But the music isn't in there yet. But what that doesn't account for is the stuff that I don't own that I did stream, and I don't think you'd be able to download that stuff from Google Play Music because I never actually technically owned it. I was just licensing it through Google Play's thing. I do want to quickly mention, as we talked about last week on last week's show, Plex is a sponsor on the Twit network. They sponsored All About Android. Plex is great. We thank them for being a sponsor. But yeah, so Plex is a good option, as other media servers out there might be, but you need to have the local media. And so when I'm just like, oh, cool, I want to listen to that New York Dolls record that I don't own, I would need to go buy it. And honestly, I don't even know where to buy. Oh, Amazon.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just kind of stumbled into that, didn't
MP3.
So as opposed to setting up a local server at home, I could just move to Amazon. But I know Amazon doesn't have as complete of a library as Google Play and Spotify do, but Amazon does have the Prime Cloud player where you can listen to your music in the cloud and all stuff like that. So Amazon might be the option.
We're gonna have an experimentation for you, Ron. I want to see what you decide to do. I know that I listen to a lot of electronica and stuff like that, so I have some third.
Well, your solution is to stop. So there you go.
Okay. Well, anyway, if I do want to hear stuff, I can there are some third parties out there where you can download MP3s. And so I'm thinking about the same for you and the genres you listen to. You would have to complete the blanks or fill in the blanks in that way, which is kind of a PETA. And I'm not talking about the pockets.
Josh, what do you use for your music? I know you're into music.
This is okay. So this is something that when I saw this, I was really interested and very curious. I don't want to open up a floodgate here, but I just want to ask a quick synopsis. What's wrong with YouTube Music?
It's awful. Have you tried using it?
I'd love it. Let's put it this way. I'm a YouTube addict, so I'm one of those people that I'll find a song that I like. I'll hit play. There's the autoplay already, and it'll just move to its own recommended like YouTube algorithm stuff. And generally, it works pretty well for me. So that it's basically that in an app. So that's why I'm into it. And also, it's one of those apps where I just try to make sure that if I'm listening to songs that I'm actively hitting like, that way, or thumbs up, whatever the case is. That way, when you go into YouTube Music, you go to liked music, and then it's all there. So that's why I'm like, okay, cool. But yeah, I mean, personally, I like it because if I put in an artist, it will generally be able to find more from that artist, which is probably what I want, and then more from hopefully that genre because it's using what people watch on YouTube as a sort of algorithm for what to play next. So if I'm listening to Bruno Mars, someone's probably gonna listen to like Travis Scott after that, you know. So the chances are that you'll get an autoplay that kind of works for your taste. So that's what I noticed at least.
Well, so it seems like that, and that's interesting too. And honestly, don't just. I mean, I early on, I kind of rejected Pandora, but they do have the biggest library, and they've come a long way. So this is going to be a developing thing. I understand YouTube Music is going to be the new paradigm, but so far, I think I'm going to abandon Google for music, and I need to find another option. So Amazon might be the one I look into. Although maybe I'll give YouTube Music a try. Looking at Pandora. Either way, it sounds like we have a future episode flow coming up where we focus on music again. So
yeah.
All right. Well, let's ponder that while we thank our first sponsor for sponsoring this episode of All About Android, and that's LegalZoom. Listen, if you are a small business owner, a medium business owner, a large business owner, you know that running your own business is not easy. But getting help with the day-to-day challenges you face certainly does help, and it's not a bad thing to ask for help. That's the first thing I learned in business. When you need help, ask for it. And that's why business owners all around the country turn to LegalZoom. Over the past 18 years, LegalZoom has helped more than 2 million business owners get started. But every entrepreneur knows that getting started is just the beginning of your journey. What happens along the way will determine your success. That's what LegalZoom's network of independent attorneys and tax professionals can help with. Listen, when you have a problem, when you got to figure it out, knowing where to turn for advice on trademarks, tax law changes, and reviewing contracts puts you at an advantage. Plus, you'll save money by avoiding hourly fees since LegalZoom isn't a law firm. So don't get distracted by legal hurdles and business questions as the year winds down. And when you're operating your own business, stuff comes up that you never even think of. And you could try to figure it out on your own, but more than likely you're going to need a hand, and LegalZoom is there to help you when you need it. Go to LegalZoom.com today and find out all the different ways they can help your business. Don't forget to enter the promo code AAA in the box at checkout. That's LegalZoom.com, promo code AAA. LegalZoom, where life meets legal. And thanks, LegalZoom, for helping us out and keeping our business on the straight and narrow. Thanks, LegalZoom. All right, time for hardware.
All right. So this first news item should not surprise. I don't think it was a surprise. Maybe I'm too insulated in the industry. I don't know. But so basically with the OnePlus 7T launching next month, this month, there is no point for the OnePlus 7 Pro is kind of the TLDR here. So T-Mobile discontinued the OnePlus 7 Pro. We're not talking about OnePlus discontinuing this on their own. We're just talking about here in the US, if you were planning to go to a carrier to buy this phone and maybe have it subsidized or, buy it through your carrier, you will have to choose from the OnePlus 7T. Before this, T-Mobile was actually selling two OnePlus smartphones, the OnePlus 7 Pro, which was the last release, the one that came out over the summer, and the OnePlus 6T. But the 7 Pro can no longer be purchased from T-Mobile's website nor through the official T-Mobile app. It's not totally a surprise when you think about OnePlus's footprint in the US market and maybe why a carrier would want to scale back on how many different models it offers. But I'm sure it is kind of a bummer for those who are maybe hoping to save some money on the 7 Pro with the 7T coming out, as you would with like a Samsung device at any of the other carriers. So the OnePlus 7T will go on sale this month, October 18th. It will actually cost less than 7 Pro. So you you will be saving a little bit of money there. The OnePlus 7 Pro was sold by T-Mobile for $699, but the 7T will be priced at $599. So that's $100 off. T-Mobile also continues to sell the now year-old OnePlus 6T, which was released last November, so last Thanksgiving for those who remember last Thanksgiving. And they're asking $500 for it. So $100 less than what you would pay for the 7T. I don't know, Josh, have you had a chance to play with the 7T and, maybe give credence to this decision that T-Mobile has made?
Well, it's interesting because the OnePlus 7T does a few things really right. I'll preface this by saying I actually wasn't the biggest fan of the OnePlus 7 Pro, mainly because of its handling, that curved screen. Also, the fact that the screen's really big. That phone was just kind of hard to use comfortably every day, just for me. But that doesn't mean that I wanted it to like go away this fast. Yeah. At least when it comes to T-Mobile, in this case, because I don't know. This is something that I said in my actual video for the OnePlus 7T, and I actually really like that phone because it enhanced performance to a very extensive degree. It has an 855 Plus now. That's the gaming one. So anybody out there that's looking for a gaming phone, you kind of have one here that's coming to the US for one of the best prices that you can get for a gaming phone. So that's a big deal. And I actually feel like some people aren't focusing on that. Now, it's not a Pro model, which is why the Pro model has its own features like the full screen display, the curved display, the pop-up camera, stuff like that. And that's fine. But I think OnePlus, and I said this in my video, I feel like OnePlus is kind of shooting themselves in the foot a little bit sometimes when their release cycles are kind of too close to one another. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what's going on here because I'm going to say rumors. I know everyone has their own opinions on it, but the OnePlus 7T Pro is about to be a thing, apparently. So there's yet another Pro device that's about to come out. So maybe that will replace the OnePlus 7 Pro, but then the T model is supposed to be considered outside of the regular OnePlus models. It's really odd when you look at the entire OnePlus ecosystem to see just how crowded it is now. And just speaking in a vacuum about the OnePlus 7T, I actually think it's a great phone. I think it's awesome. Yeah, it does.
They're great phones.
It improves a lot. It improves the right things that the OnePlus 7 Pro was. It kind of hindered a little bit when I first reviewed it. But yeah, again, it's a 90 hertz display with an 855 plus. I mean, how could you go wrong, especially if you're looking for media and gaming? That's a great deal for that phone.
So this is really interesting because I'm a OnePlus 7 Pro user and I really, really like it. In fact, I like it a lot. I'm excited to check out the 7T. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet. But that said, I like one of the things about the Pro I like is the kind of front-facing camera that comes out of the top of it. I don't like the notch. So like there are little things about the Pro that I like that the 7T doesn't have. But T-Mobile kind of taking it upon themselves to limit the options people have for OnePlus, I think is kind of smart from their standpoint because they're avoiding that fragmentation.
That's fair.
Yeah. So I mean, but OnePlus is definitely falling for the having different flavors and having too many phones in market. They're running the risk of that, and which we've seen with other phones. But the good thing is that each phone is of a good quality that you really can't go wrong with having the latest and greatest. So.
Yeah, they've really hit a stride. I mean, we're never going to go back to the days of the OnePlus One, $299, or even less than that. I think it was $199 at one point. We're never going to go back to those days. But in the landscape of phones right now, where you're seeing really high-end features be prevalent in these phones, including things like you said, the pop-up camera. There are times when you're just looking at it and you're like, okay, I like it. Do I need it? So it's nice that OnePlus is providing those choices. But it's a double-edged sword is, I guess, my point here.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's not a double-edged sword, but is a double-edged phone. The big surprise for Microsoft. So last week, Microsoft had their Surface event, and where they're rolling out all the new Surface products. And one thing I didn't see coming was the Surface Duo, which is a foldable Android phone. That really kind of blew me away. Microsoft getting into the foldable game, and what did I tell you guys? That the future is foldable, and Microsoft sees it coming. As opposed to the other kind of foldables that we've seen out there, Microsoft has said, we're just going to take two screens and slap them together on it with a hinge. That's all. Which keeps it pretty simple. You get like this almost paperback book-like experience where it opens up. But what's really neat is that it can run 2 different apps at the same time on each screen, or you can switch it into landscape mode, which gives the second display as a keyboard or a game controller. And it's, I really kind of like this the more I look at it. They did take Android and apply their own UI kind of skin to it to resemble the Windows 10X operating system, which is running on the larger Surface Neo for kind of consistency. But this device has got a Snapdragon 855. And other, and it's a complete product that's going to be coming into people's hands holiday 2020. So that's it's a little ways off. We get a glimpse of it, but I did not think that A, Microsoft would get into foldables, or B, a device running Android. Flo, what did you think of this device when you saw it? Just immediate reaction. What was your gut reaction there?
I think it looks really cool. Like aesthetically, It's something that I would love to carry around with me as just like a little device. I'm just really, I'm into it aesthetically. I just want to put my hands on it, but I'm having a difficult time figuring out where this fits into like the intersection of phones and tablets, because Microsoft has said like it makes phone calls, but it's not quite a phone device. So I guess it's supposed to kind of fit some sort of missing link for us Android folks who don't really have like a flagship tablet to turn to. But at the same time, this is coming out in late 2020. Yeah. Anything could happen in a year, than a year at this time.
Which is weird to show their cards this early, right?
Yeah.
Like to be like, this is what we're doing. This is our foldable entry. And now other companies have more than a year to respond. I don't know, Josh, Microsoft has like been on the periphery of Android in this way, but like, what do you make of this thing?
Well, I mean, a year ahead of time, it's basically Microsoft like dropping the mic early and saying, we don't think you're going to do anything that's going to top this. Like what all the other foldables are going to come out, and then we're coming, and I kind of like that. There's a certain attitude from Microsoft that has come out over the last couple of years, and it made me think, is Microsoft cool again? Like I think I really like this prospect, but also it's not just for other companies to see that this is out or is going to come out at the end of 2020. They have a whole year to respond. It's also for developers to figure out how to join this ecosystem, how to create their apps for this form factor. So I'm looking forward to seeing what applications will actually work on it. Multitasking is an obvious thing, so you have an app on one side, an app on the other side. I like that. Yeah, it's an Android system. I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. And when we were looking at the video just now, like a minute or so ago, it's about this big, isn't it? It's about the size of a field
something
notes.
like that.
Yeah.
I was impressed by both the size and the thickness. It like for a device that is 2 screens that's folding, it didn't look super thick, which I think it's not as chunky. yeah, exactly, maybe. But like the Samsung foldable looks chunky, and this doesn't look chunky, right? It's it's got a good design.
You can just barely make out like some ports that might be there. Obviously, the one USB-C port. It's not thick enough to have a headphone jack, so that's obviously like the future. But I guess Microsoft is putting down the gauntlet and by saying that this is not a phone, first off, they're also saying that we've moved into a new realm of technology where phone calls are just not as prioritized as they used to be. It's about controlling your life and also messaging people in those fashions or using other applications to make voice calls and voice dictation happen. So I can kind of see
you
why.
Mean Skype?
Yeah, exactly. Like
by the way, we're on right now.
Yeah. I mean, I do way more Telegram voice messages than I've done actual voice calls in the last year. So I don't really blame them for not calling it a phone or not wanting to call it a phone, because I mean, how many people out there actually make that many phone calls on the regular?
I need whatever this is. I need Microsoft to get developers like Adobe and all the really big players to make apps for this that do not merely function like they do on the Chromebook. Because it's great that I have Android apps on the Chromebook, but they are so limited in scope compared to that's the reason why people like a Surface laptop, because it's a tiny little powerhouse. Like you can do all your Photoshop editing on there, what have you. I want full-blown apps for this thing. So if we're going to get a year ahead of time on it, I want to see a year's worth of development on some apps that I really require using.
Yep.
So
get to work.
Right. Okay, so let's actually talk about tablets that exist in the ecosystem. So Amazon actually announced a couple of new Fire HD tablets. The new Fire HD 10 tablet comes in a regular edition and a kids edition. The Fire HD was started at $149 and charges now via USB-C. Those of you who might remember before, it only charged via micro USB, which felt kind of dated in this day and age. So the Fire HD 10 has a 10.1-inch Full HD touchscreen, an updated octa-core processor, 2 gigs of RAM, and comes in either 32 or 64 gigs of storage that you can expand with a micro SD card for all of that Amazon content that Amazon wants you to engage in. Amazon promised battery life up to 12 hours, up from 10 hours in the previous Fire HD 10 tablet. The tablet can charge fully in 4 hours thanks to that USB-C port. So it's nice to see it join us here in the future. Thank you. And just to talk about that kids edition really quick, and it's also interesting to note, just as a slight digression, Amazon had announced a Kindle for kids. So there's clearly really trying to go after this particular little market, right? I mean, we always talk about buying Amazon tablets for our kids. So the Fire HD 10 Kids Edition has the same UI as Amazon's existing tablets for kids, making it more accessible and easier to use for those kids. The tablet also comes with a kid-friendly case, an extended warranty because kids are rough on technology, and a 1-year complimentary free time unlimited added to that. So those who don't know, Amazon has added that free time unlimited. It's a kid-focused $4.99 per month or $2.99 per month add-on for Prime members content subscription, which includes shows, movies, books, audiobooks, and other media that kids can consume without parents needing to worry about filtering out any inappropriate materials. And I kind of feel like with the way YouTube filtering is going, and that's a free service, you might want to check this out just to have Amazon coming in and saying, you know what, this is what it's okay for your kids to watch. I'm into it, and I can see why parents are looking at this particular product. I don't know. Ron, would you get this for your kids?
I would not get this for my children because they are 9 months and they put everything in their mouth.
Yes.
So I think some maturing has to happen. But when they are of the appropriate age, I'm confident that they will probably end up with an Amazon tablet because Amazon keeps putting out these Android tablets that are focused around kids and family that are really good products and have really good controls.
Yeah.
And I got to give Amazon credit that the entire Fire tablet line from jump has been really, I got my mother one, like they are good devices for normal people. And by normal, I mean like regular people who don't need all the bells and whistles and figuring the stuff out that we do. Like someone can buy a tablet from Amazon and have confidence in using it. And then especially from a parent standpoint. So I'm impressed. As always, I'm impressed whenever they do these rollouts. They're not sexy. They're not glamorous, but they do what they set out to do. And make really positive family-friendly devices.
Yep, I agree. Shall we jump into another email? How do you guys feel?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Sure.
Okay.
I want Joshua to chime in on this answer, but yeah. So.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So here's what we have coming up. Just a reminder: if you want to send us an email, AAA@twit.tv, and again, we do have a phone number 347-SHOW AAA. Call us, and please don't try and recreate that scene from Scream. It's not funny anymore. Okay, so this one comes from...
It's also like over 20 years old, so...
I know, but it was mentioned recently. Anyway, it's anniversary. So this one comes from Stuart Crowther. I hope that I said your name correctly. Stuart writes in, what phone is recommended for someone who never takes photographs? My main uses are making and receiving phone calls, sending and receiving emails and texts. Secondary uses are listening to podcasts, like All About Android, and streaming audio. Phone reviews never seem to mention the quality of the microphone or the clarity of the reception for phone calls. I am presently using a Nokia 8.1 and like it, but recently dropped it and cracked the screen, so I'm thinking of a replacement. Thank you. I quickly had put down a couple, and I would love, please, you guys chime in after I sound these off. So budget, I was thinking Pixel 3a, just because it's seems to be on sale everywhere. And the Moto G7, particularly the Moto G7 Power, if you want that extra battery, because it comes with a massive 5,000 milliamp pack. I also wanted to add, just from my own experience, lots of carriers these days piggyback on the Wi-Fi calling. So when I talk on the phone, I feel like it's been really high quality as long as I'm at home connected to Wi-Fi. I don't know. What do you guys think? Josh, you want to chime in?
Yeah, Josh, you're a big photo nut, but I love the challenge of if you're not into photography, what would you recommend?
Well, okay, I'm kind of half joking with this answer because it seems like Stuart here is a Nokia fan. They did just bring out at IFA a couple of flip phones, just saying, and I really liked them. I know that they're not smartphones fully, but they do support at least the web applications for all of the different services you might end up using to send and receive emails and texts and whatnot. That's a bit of a jokey answer, but I do genuinely like that Nokia 2720 that I saw at IFA. But I think you hit the nail on the head already, Flo. You have the Pixel 3a. I think that's a wonderfully priced phone that is, in the current generation, one of the best phones you can get that still has the capabilities that you need,
and it
even in the camera. Yes, and it gets updates. It even has a good camera in case you do end up taking that phone out and snapping a memory. I think most people who say that they don't use the camera at all eventually have that one moment where they're doing something that they want to remember. And even if they don't need that memory to be perfectly framed or well lit or anything like that, they still want to have a commemorative photo or video of that event. When you take out something that is, yes, that too, documentation, yes. So if you were to take a phone out and it's just decidedly subpar than what you hope it can give you as far as capturing that memory is concerned, you're gonna get that phone envy. I think it's inevitable for everybody, but if it's not for you, you still have all the other capabilities in an affordable Pixel 3a. I do think that is probably the main pick that I would give. The Galaxy S10e is a great extra credit answer too, though. I agree with that one wholeheartedly.
Cool. Well, good answer. So, Stuart, let us know what you end up purchasing and going with. We never get the last chapter of the story with a lot of these questions. So please let us know where you net out. Yeah, call us. All right. So we have some app news, but before we get to that, we're going to thank our next sponsor. This episode of All About Android is brought to you by ZipRecruiter. And listen, hiring can be a slow process. I've been there. It's very challenging sometimes. Good example, Cafe Altura's COO Dylan Miskowitz needed to hire a director of coffee for his organic coffee company, but he's having trouble finding qualified applicants. Then he switched to ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter doesn't depend on candidates finding you. It finds them for you. Its technology identifies people with the right experience and invites them to apply for your job, so you get qualified candidates fast. See what they did there? They turned it around. They invite the candidates to interview, not the other way around. So Dylan posted his job on ZipRecruiter and said he was impressed by how quickly he had great candidates apply. He used the candidate rating feature in ZipRecruiter to filter his applicants and was able to focus on the most relevant ones. And that's how Dylan found his new director of coffee in just a few days, which is a great gig when you think about it. Director of coffee, come on. With results like that, it's no wonder 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. And listen, I got to tell you, over the years, I've had to hire staff at varying levels, from entry level all the way up to really experienced, and going through resumes is a slog, having to find the right candidate. It literally is like finding a needle in a haystack. And ZipRecruiters come in and they've revolutionized the way hiring can go. They find those needles in those haystacks for you. So instead of taking a flyer and hoping that someone's not, is qualified for the job and the right person, the chances of finding that right person is that much increased thanks to using ZipRecruiter. It really is amazing. So if you're hiring, definitely consider ZipRecruiter, because it will be a game changer and make it easier to not only hire the right person, but do it quickly and efficiently. So see why ZipRecruiter is effective for businesses of all sizes. Try ZipRecruiter for free at our web address. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Android. That's ZipRecruiter.com/Android. ZipRecruiter.com/Android. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. Thanks, ZipRecruiter. All right. As promised, we got some apps.
Woo, woo, woo. So have you ever wanted to use your Android device as a secondary display?
Sure.
Well,
I was raising my hand. I forgot it's an audio podcast.
Sure.
Yeah, I know. Sorry, no studio today. So, well, now you might be able to. So Duet, as it's called, and, you know, makes perfect sense. It'd be called Duet, may soon enable you to do this. So this is an app that was actually developed by a team of former Apple engineers that lets you turn your phone, tablet, or Chromebook into a secondary display for Windows or Mac computers. So it's pretty straightforward. You install it, you download the app to the device you want to use as a second display. You launch programs on both the devices that you're using, connect a USB cable, and it's supposed to be like pure, unadulterated, no lag magic. Now, we can't really tell if it's magic yet because you can only pre-register for this right now in the Play Store. So if you want to get on that list and be one of the first people to try it out and see how it may or may not work, you can be. I will be signing up because I am very curious to do this with a Chromebook. Duet works with all Android devices running 7.1 or newer, Macs on 10.14 Mojave or later, and all PCs running Windows 10 or later. So if you want to go give it a try, go to the Google Play Store and you pre-register yourself. You get yourself on that list, and we'll report back here when that thing goes live and let you know how it truly works in the real world. If it truly is a duet, a beautiful sonnet.
I love this. I think this is going to be great to use, especially for anybody out there that might be, I know that people hate this term, but you know, some people are influencers, where like if you're going to be taking a lot of photos on your main cameras and you're trying to post them on something like IG Stories, which literally doesn't work on a desktop, this might be one way that you can actually have that. So I love it. Like it's one of those things that I tried to use on the Galaxy Note 10, Dex. I try to use Dex to post on IG Stories and on places like that. I try. It's not easy. But if this would make that process easier, I am all for it. Bring it on. I want to get a second display for my phone for sure.
Cool. So I'll be honest, I get a little excited when a new Google app UI update happens. Over the past, I want to say past year or so, Google has been slowly updating all of their apps to get with the design paradigm within Google. Things are getting cleaner, they're getting whiter, they're getting more material, they're getting that cool font that all Google apps are using. And the latest one in the G Suite apps is Google Docs, Sheets, and Slides are all finally rolling out on Android with this new look. And if you are a Google App Suite user like I am, Docs and Sheets and Slides are apps that you use all the time. And so it's great to see the Android apps finally getting a little design love and having that roll out. And as you know, things in the Google ecosystem get a little more common across the way they look. So, good job, Google. Way to go.
Yep.
I like a little bit of synergy across platforms. Speaking of synergy, you know what I really like? When I have dark mode on my Android device and then I go into an app and it's also still in dark mode. So I discovered that this is a thing that now exists in Instagram, which I believe we were talking. Were we talking about this before the show?
We were in the chat. Those watching live in the chat room, we're talking about it. It's big news for Instagram users, that's for sure.
Yeah, the only thing that's, I mean, So it's good for me because now I can check on my stories before bed without getting a preliminary headache, which is great, I guess. And I also just, like I said, appreciate the synergy among apps. You know, a lot of us are going towards dark mode, not just in the Android world, but in iOS as well. And so again, having that parity, it's just a lot better for usability, I think, overall, and for our eyesight, quite frankly. And also for our batteries, for those of us with OLED screens, you know, we want to maintain these things. Of course, you can't pick and choose when you're getting into dark mode, though. So it seems that it just kind of goes based on what your system is using. So if you wanted to use like light mode, I guess, while you're dark mode in the interface, you can't really decide to do that. So bummer for you.
At the risk of showing a non-Android device, I actually just tried this. I just updated both of my phones. So here's the Note 10. Obviously, it's not dark moded. Yeah, right. And now that's the same photo on the iPhone 11 Pro. So it is dark moded. And I tried to go into the settings and turn it off just to see, like, you know, the differences, because you want to turn it on and off. It'd be nice to have a toggle of sorts, but there's not one. So you're right. It's not something that you can change yet. And I know a lot of people are still on the fence about this because, you know, for people who are really into catering their feeds, you know, again, the influencer types, you know, I don't think this really changes that a whole lot, but I imagine that some people would really prefer.
You are so right.
We used to, all those people who have those white borders around their photos so that it kind of adheres to the grid. Now those stand out more because of the dark background.
Yeah. Not to mention the color palettes.
Well, I think the photos pop on the dark mode. Even I mean, like, I actually think the dark mode suits Instagram a little better than light mode. I mean, look at the changes Adobe's made to the Photoshop UI, and it's really kind of like, you know, where you want that kind of dark background as you're working in photos, and the same kind of thing applies on Instagram. We're seeing the contrast really pop on a darker background. That said, I prefer an app that doesn't give you control over dark mode. I want dark mode at night. I want dark mode, in low light. And I want light mode in during the day. The app I keep going back to that does this the best is the Google News app. The Google News app, not only a combination of what time and what time zone I'm in, but what kind of light situation I'm in as well. And it flips to dark mode when I want it to. Completely frictionless and smart. That's the way all apps should be. I can't stand having to toggle between the two. And a lot of apps have taken a kind of a janky approach to even doing that. Like Slack, you need to reboot the whole app to switch to dark mode. So you have to choose light or dark mode. I don't want that. I want light mode during the day and dark mode at night. So I like that a little better. That's just me.
Yeah, I can see that. I think in general, I enjoy dark mode. I prefer it usually, but at the same time, it's just this particular platform. It may not have been the right place to make it an all or nothing situation. So I think that's my one gripe with this so far. So who knows? You're probably going to see a lot of people on Twitter or on other social media platforms complaining about Instagram and about how the dark mode actually messes with their photos.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can we not say the I word, please?
Yeah, Ion. It is. I did go to a conference this year where we learned all about like color palettes. It has to do with Instagram, so this will be very interesting.
You know, one thing.
Well, whatever. Yay, dark mode.
Well, there's actually another portion of this story that I just wanted to touch upon real quick. Killing the following tab.
Oh, I saw that too.
I'm kind of all for this, to be honest. Like, dark mode, great. Killing the follow tab, like, isn't that usually where people end up stalking a little too hard? Like, so that makes perfect sense to me. So yeah, kill the follow tab. I barely used it anyway.
Yeah.
All right. Well, dark mode. It's everyone's talking about it, good or bad. So that said, after some app news, now it's time to go into the arena.
So many enter, but only one lives. Android Arena.
All right, so last week, episode 440, 4 people entered the arena. Ooh, it's a very dark room there. Dark mode.
Yeah, we're in dark mode.
Did the
dark
power
mode.
go out?
I love you, Victor.
So we had 4 apps, and the winner appears to be Checktree, which was Flo's app, which got 54 votes, or 34% of the voting. Coming in second was me with Astro Party by a narrow 1-point margin over Jason, who came in third with his dad jokes. And then coming in last was our guest's Hex installer app last week. So bummer that Michelle's app came in last. Doesn't really help the guests in their effort. But here we are, 39 weeks through the season. I am in last place with 79 points, and I was glad that Astro Party helped me but didn't get me out of the basement. Jason's still in third place with 84 points. Guests have 108, the sacred number of Vishnu, number 108. And Flo is in first place with 127 points. Jason clearly is not here, so this is my opportunity to bridge the gap. Yes. And I will go first, since I came in technically closest to last amongst the three of us. And then Joshua and then Flo will go. And for me, I'm using another app that was suggested to me by someone, a viewer, and I need to pull up his name, but I need to go into my feed to find that. I love getting a lot of the app recommendations that everyone realizes that I'm failing this season. And so any recommendations that you have, hit me up on Twitter at RonXO. But we all love material design. We all love note-taking apps. I realized the other day I needed to take notes, and for some reason I stopped using Keep. And that's because they've tweaked the design, and Keep no longer became as fun to use or as clean to use. And so I just haven't really done it. So I've been looking for a replacement. So when Edward on Twitter suggested Scarlet Notes, I checked it out, and I was very, very impressed. So Scarlet Notes applies that great material design that we all love and are using, as well as a dark mode, and makes it super easy to just take notes quickly and make them accessible and be able to use them on your phone. So you basically have a clean layout that uses material design, and you could choose whether or not you want to organize it in a list or in a grid. So whichever way you choose to design it, you're able to you can set the color for your notes. So if you want to color code your notes or do anything that you might want to do, you can also lock them with a pin. This actually reminds me a lot of of the former Keep, which I did like. You can write in Markdown if that's your choice. You can also add rich notes with lists and headings and quotes and all that fun stuff. Of course, you can tag them, and you can add reminders to each note, so that if you do something, set yourself a reminder to come back to that note and finish up what's there or whatever you need to do. It's ad-free, which is great, and it's open source, which we all love a good open source project. So Scarlet Notes, if you're looking for a nice material design open source option, Scarlet Notes might be your new note app. So check it out. It's free in the Google Play Store. It is what I'm using now for my notes on my phone, and I dig it. And so I suggest you check it out as well. And that is Scarlet Notes.
I like it. It looks, I want to say it looks a little Windowsy, but not like in a bad way. It looks like the Windows Phone tile. I like it.
Those squares, yeah, exactly. Yes. People either love that or hated that. But you could go to the list mode and not use those squares if you don't like that. So anyway,
it's got really good style.
So, yeah, it's good. I strongly recommend. I know you guys are using Notion, but I strongly recommend Scarlet Notes, which is because I feel like a note-taking app is a different. It's a specific discipline that you need an app to just quickly jot down that idea and write it down and do all that sort of thing. So I like to have it handy. This supports widgets as well for you widget lovers out there. So
I love a widget. I still am pro widget.
All right. So Joshua,
am I going next or Josh is?
No, Josh is going next. So Joshua, you chose an app. You chose a game that I'm actually shocked that no one's picked yet. So go for it.
Yeah. I was looking through the list, and I was thinking about the apps that I've been using a lot over the last couple of weeks, and obviously, like we mentioned, Notion was one of them. But then the other one is a game, and I'm trying to load it up right now in a way that will look good on camera. But I'll go ahead and just pop it up right now. This is Call of Duty Mobile. If you've been living under a rock of some sort, this is the brand new team deathmatch game that came out. It is partially developed by Tencent, and if you recognize that name, it's because they also developed PUBG Mobile, the juggernaut of mobile gaming. So I actually have, let me go ahead and refocus here. So this is going to be a game that you're probably going to get really addicted to because team deathmatch games, that tends to happen if you are into that genre. Now, the one thing that I really love about Call of Duty Mobile right now is the fact that team deathmatch is the main attraction. Battle Royale games are fine and all. PUBG Mobile, if anybody plays that, that's great. But those tend to take way too long. On the other hand, team deathmatch matches tend to not really take more than 10 minutes. That is the time limit, but it'll usually happen in about half that time because you're really just trying to get those kills in. The controls are really great. It's something that Tencent was able to work with Activision and bring their controls to Call of Duty Mobile from PUBG Mobile, which are already very well put together. It's obviously been refined over the last couple of years that PUBG Mobile has been out, and it's honestly super addicting. Now, here's the thing. I have been advocating for mobile gaming as a platform, mainly because it's a great place to get into classic games. If you look at any libraries out there, you can find some really old games that you probably loved growing up, like Chrono Trigger, Final Fantasy games, even other games like Star Wars games are on there, are on Android as well. And that's just going to continue happening. But Call of Duty Mobile is a wonderful example of what mobile gaming can look like at its best. The controls are for the touchscreen. You can find different ways of catering the controls to your liking. The graphics are super fluid and really high quality, and just the action is fast paced. So if you're looking for a mobile version of the Call of Duty franchise, you literally have it here, and it's being developed by the right people to make it a fun experience. You know what? Over 35 million people cannot be that wrong about a game like this. And that's the reason why I think this is a wonderful example of all of these, a wonderful example to levy on all of these gaming phones that are about to come out, especially with that certification that Google has for gaming phones. This should be the first example when you fire up a game on those phones.
Cool. Man, I'm afraid
to
install this, to be honest with you. So
I was actually, during the last couple of segments, I was trying to quickly get a game recorded. I tried to do screen record so I could show it off here, but then I realized, you could probably just show the Play Store stuff like you just did. So I was like, okay. Yeah. So I apologize if I seemed a little bit distracted earlier. I was trying to get content for the show.
Josh, you're always so good, by the way, at selling your apps. You just come so well prepared. I just appreciate you.
Oh, thank you.
Just want to put that out there. I guess it's my turn. It's my turn. I brought a less fun app to the arena. In fact, it looks like Ron and I, once again, were in sync. When we're not in the same place at the same time, not realizing that we're there, we're both bringing productivity apps to the app arena. So
I'm the distraction.
That's okay, Josh. You know what? You brought a good distraction. So my app today is actually a Google Play Pass choice. I've been delving into the library to see what it is that I'm paying for and what it is that I'm getting for my money. And an app that I've recently used to kind of kick apart all of the other calendar apps that I've been trying to get use out of is Business Calendar 2 Agenda, Planner, and Organizer. I know, amazing name. So it's by AppGenix Software. There are a lot of reviews for this in the Play Store. It's got more than 4.5 stars, 4.7. All right, there we go. And I really do like how feature-filled and feature-packed this is. And one of the reasons that I was attracted to it is because I actually really like the widget for this a lot better than some of the other apps that maybe I've brought to the arena that I also enjoy. But this one in particular, the widgets are completely customizable. So you can always tweak what the design looks like, the curvature of the widget, what the colors are like, the opacity. And we were just talking earlier about how widgets are still a thing that we love. And so I love that this has widgets on it. Also, the way that this just organizes all of your just everything that you have going on. Sometimes I feel like when I pop into Google Calendar, it just doesn't feel like full enough. And so I like this one in particular. It's a bit of a bummer I'm bringing this on today's show because I'm not in the studio to kind of show you a live demo. But I like the fact that there is a column called invites. And Victor, I'm sorry, I don't know if the Play Store is going to have a screenshot for this. But under invites, what happens is you can view a long list of everything anybody has invited you to in like the next, I think it gives you up to the next 2 months. And so I kind of know like, okay, I've got like this podcast taping on this day. Okay, I've got like this meeting on this day. All right, I've got this briefing on this day. Instead of me having to like just go through and scroll through and see where it is that people have invited me to things, and especially because sometimes that stuff can get lost amongst other agenda that you have going on. And since I use a calendar to also kind of organize like what's going on in the house, I like to be able to see at a glance, like the business stuff, the work stuff that's going on alongside the personal stuff. There are, status bar reminders and pop-up notifications. You can snooze reminders like on Google Calendar. You can sync it with Google Cal, Microsoft Outlook, and Exchange. So kind of all the ones that you have there. There's a tasks list. From what I have used so far, this tasks list seems to be different than the Google tasks, but it's kind of nice to have it sequestered a bit from sometimes, because when I'm using the smart speakers, stuff will get a little kind of confusing with tasks and reminders and things of the sort. You can quickly show and hide calendars. I have calendars for all sorts of random things, so it's nice to be able to do that organization. This is a really good full-featured calendar app. You could sync events locally if you need to, kind of have that stuff, backed up on your device if you need it. Another big thing they like to call it is their emoji, and I know that some people are not excited about this, but I like we were talking about Notion, which lets you use an emoji. You can use emoji in this to kind of help you figure out between the different things that you have in your calendar. And like I mentioned, it's part of the Play Pass. So if you're paying for Play Pass, you're not going to get any ads with this. There's things like integrated weather reports, repeating alarms. The widget is just really good. You can just kind of tap on the widget and it'll give you all the information at a glance. So I'm a believer. I enjoy it. This is my calendar app now that I'm using. So Business Calendar 2, it's a very sexy name. If you're looking for it in the Play Store, just look for the icon that says 3C.
Nice.
Cool. All right.
I want to real quick just spread the praise around a little bit, because this is a really good pick from Flo, because way back in the days of even like KitKat, this was the calendar app that I was also using. And back then I paid full price for it, but they have a lot of experience. And it was actually one of those applications that really showed, like, when you put a lot of work into an application and really make it as good as you possibly can as an alternative. It's a great pick. When I saw that, I was like, oh, I remember that. It's been a while since I've used it, but I remember that. It's a great app.
And it has a dark mode, and it also has a gray mode. For those that were talking about earlier, wanting a gray mode.
Nice.
In the chat, we were talking about that. Yeah. Okay. So
3 really strong apps that you can vote for. So what you want to do is you want to go to twit.to/AAA poll 441. That's twit.to/AAA poll 441, and you're going to choose your vote for either Business Calendar, Scarlet Notes, or Call of Duty Mobile. And I wonder where Victor is going to go with. Is he going to be productive or is he going to be distracted? And I knew he was going to be distracted.
I knew it.
Yeah, there it is. So Victor's vote goes to Call of Duty. What will you vote for? twit.to/AA poll 441. Find out next week to find out who wins and to see if my losing streak continues. Joshua, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's always a pleasure to have you on, man.
Yeah, one of the few times that I'm not actually in the studio this time, but then again, none of us were.
True, exactly. And you're the only one who thought I had enough to bring a green light to be projected behind you to go with the Android branding.
Oh yeah, for sure. That light's always there. I love that thing. But yeah, I had it on a strobe earlier, and it was kind of giving everyone agita. So just keep it on green. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. For anybody who's looking to find me on the internet, that lower third right on the bottom is great already. You can find me at youtube.com/Joshua Vergara. Easy place to find me. I am just ramping up all of the production on all of the videos. There's so many things coming out. It's Techtober after all. And I know a few people were saying that's a lame name for it, but it's what it is. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on. And we just talked about the Pixel for that's happening just next week. Also, the other part of that lower third at JV Tech T is where you can find me on both Twitter and Instagram. If you want to hear my random musings, that would be Twitter. I've actually kind of started using Twitter as more of just like an echo chamber of sorts. So I definitely don't use that. Yeah, pretty much. I absolutely do not use it as like as I said, the I word earlier. That's not really my influencer platform anymore. I just like to say whatever I want on there at this point.
And that's what it was originally designed for. So that's the proper use. So yeah. Cool. Well, Joshua, thank you so much. Everyone should go check out your stuff. I'm a big fan, and it's always a pleasure having you on the show. So,
thank you guys so much.
All right, Flo, what's going on with you? Where can people find you?
People can find me at florencelion.com. I was supposed to have my teaser episode of my new podcast up today, and it's somewhere in the ether in the RSS, but it's not actually I'm having problems like getting it on my website, and it still hasn't been approved by Apple or Google or Spotify for that matter. So, you know what? If you want to be one of the very first to listen to my new podcast, which is called Honestly Tech, you can join my Discord. There's a secret link hanging out in my About page. So you go read through that and you look for the link and you come join the Discord, okay? And you'll get it there. And by the way, the Discord that we have is a beautiful community of people who support each other. So if you're looking for a community of people that support each other and you want to hear what I'm having for breakfast every day, come join my Discord. And you know where else to find me on the internet. I'm all that Flo.
Cool. Thank you, Flo. As always, you can find me on Twitter at RonXO and on Instagram at RonXO. I have nothing interesting of note. Although those of you who are into comic books might want to tune into the upcoming episode of iFanboy, because I'm going to make a little surprise cameo on that show. You heard it here first. But yeah, I'm going to pop on there to talk to the guys about some fun comic book stuff. That'll be out on Sunday. I'll mention it again next week for you all if you're into comics. Victor, great job as always. Good job with the lighting and the whole little bit at the top of the show. You're always the best.
Keeping the power on.
Keeping the power on. Yeah.
I just got my emergency text, by the way, that says your power is going to be turned off tonight. Click here for more information.
Jeez.
Yep. Yeah. And we have the red lights are because of the emergency, the backup generators. So
it's the problem.
Hopefully somebody doesn't turn off the containment unit.
Oh my gosh. Everything is Resident Evil now. Holy.
That's a big Twinkie there, Victor.
Yeah.
Flo went Resident Evil, we went Ghostbusters, but that's fine. All right, so Jason's not here. He'll be back next week. Next week is the big Pixel 4 event, so tune in. That's going to wrap it up for this week. Flo, are you taking us out?
I'm taking you out right now. We're going to go out with a bang. A low sort of bang. So that's it for this week. This podcast publishes every Tuesday evening. So right after this, you should be able to see us / listen to us in your feeds. You can subscribe to us at twit.tv/AAA. That's 3 A's to find us on the internet in your browser. Remember, you can leave us a voicemail at 347-SHOW-AAA. Type that into your phone. Give us a call. Leave us a message. Or email us at AAA@twit.tv. You know how much we love those. Please send them in. Also, you can follow us on the socials. So you can follow us on Twitter at Twit or at Android Show, which is this show's Twitter account. Or you can follow us on Instagram at twit.tv. And that Instagram, you might want to catch on because the stories are good. And you get a behind-the-scenes look at what's going on in the studio. So definitely join in for that.
There was a good one last week when Jerry lost his keys.
Oh,
so
yeah,
I don't know
that's
if you guys
right.
saw that one.
I actually did not, but that is a bummer. I hope he found.
Yeah, he found it.
Also,
go work on that tile sponsorship.
Also, there's a Twit community that actually I just joined today, and I know all the hosts are on it. It's twit.community. So I think you can head over there. You can go join in and message with your favorite hosts and folks who are on the Twit network. But as for us, I mean, that's it. We're done. We're finished. This is the end of the show, and we want to thank everybody for tuning in. I know it was kind of a different episode today with all of us Skyping in, but you know what? We thank you for being here every Tuesday. You make our Tuesday night. So thank you guys. And until next week, Jason will be back. We'll have a Pixel event. It's going to be wild. So until next week.
All right.
Perfect.